This agenda briefing meeting to order. I do need to do a roll call. Mayor Pro Tem, are you here? Here. Councilmember Reinberg, you here? Yes. Councilmember Anderson is absent at this time. Councilmember Barnett?
Here.
Councilmember Spears?
Here.
Okay. Councilmember Waddell? Here. Okay, and the chair is here. We have a quorum and we're ready to go. We have several presentations tomorrow evening. We have also consent agenda. C1 is approval of the minutes. C2 is a resolution awarding a multi-year independent audit contract with PMM Mears LLC beginning with the fiscal year ending June 30th, 2022. We have ordinances. Ordinance making supplemental appropriation in the amount of $59,521 to the HVAC replacement project. 02 is an ordinance making supplemental appropriations to the Public Improvements Fund, JAG Equipment / New Hanover County 2021 grant in the amount of $43,402 for the purchase of a portable video surveillance trailer and camera system. 03 is an ordinance appropriating $17,518 of revenue recovered through insurance claims to the general fund. Yes, sir.
Is that a particular claim, or is that a combination of claims? Doesn't seem like a whole lot of money.
Tom here. Oh. My recollection is it is one claim and on one of the old Quint trucks.
The old what?
One of the old Quint trucks, the ladder trucks.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
04 is an ordinance making supplemental appropriations in the amount of $1,000 from the North Carolina Recreation and Park Association to the Special Purpose Fund in the Omitted History Project, a new initiative. 05 is an ordinance approving the employee compensation pay plan changes and appropriating funding in the amount of $1,317,602 from multiple funds, allowing the implementation of the employee compensation study effective with the March 28th, 2022 pay period. Yes, sir.
I guess this is Al, or maybe
Yes,
you,
sir.
Tony. When we did this, a week ago, the question was asked, is everybody in the city, are they subject to this or going to credit from this except 3 of you?
Yes, sir.
Was that every individual body or every position? Because I think there's a difference. Did the pay compensation study?
I understand the question. I'm just not sure what it's by position.
Okay, so it's not every person. So there is a possibility somebody in the city.
It will be every person. We have open positions to which it will apply, but it will apply to every person.
Are the positions that were in place the day we did that going to be the same when we implement it?
Yes,
in other
sir.
words, has the pay classification been extended out, shrunk? Or, can you come up here, Al?
It would be the pay plan that as was presented a week ago.
So nothing's changed since that night. I mean, we haven't.
Nothing other than we may have hired some people or some people terminated. Other than that, no.
But the positions, as though we were doing it all over again, it's identically the same.
Correct.
Okay. And everybody in the city is going to be above, and we got them up to where they need to be, according to the pay plan study.
Correct. They'd be at least at the minimum of the range, if not
Okay.
higher.
So come July the 1st, the new fiscal year, none of our people will be below market.
The positions will not be below market. Some folks may be below market depending on how much experience they have. So we don't move everybody just to market. Market is typically the midpoint, okay, of a position.
Okay.
If I got 1 year of experience, I'm not going to pay that person at the midpoint. I'm going to pay them commensurate with their experience and the equity within the organization.
But everybody, regardless of their experience, is getting a raise.
That's correct.
All right.
Except for the 3 appointed positions.
Right. Thank you.
Okay.
06A is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the North Carolina Office of State Budget and Management for a North Carolina State Direct Grant in the amount of $250,000 for additional funding towards the MP Park Tennis Court reconstruction. That'd be courts 1 through 8, and it's a capital improvement project. And then 06B is the ordinance making the supplemental appropriation in the amount of $250,000 of the MP Park Tennis Court reconstruction capital improvement project. 07A is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the North Carolina Office of State Budget and Management for a North Carolina State Direct Grant for the purpose of conducting rail studies in the city of Wilmington. And then item 07B is the ordinance making the supplemental appropriation in the amount of $250,000 to the rail realignment project. 08A is a resolution authorizing the city manager to enter into an agreement with the North Carolina Department of Public Safety for a North Carolina State Direct Grant in the amount of $750,000 for continuation of the opioid pilot program. And then item 08B is the ordinance appropriating the funding from the North Carolina Department of Public Safety for a North Carolina State Direct Grant in the amount of $750,000 for continuation of the opioid pilot program. And then we have resolutions. R1 is a resolution requesting funding for a 10-mile parallel line for the Lower Cape Fear Water and Sewer Authority. And this is being brought forward by Councilman Rivenbark, who is the chairman of that authority.
I don't have anything to add. The resolution is, it's a resolution that we're asking the county, New Hanover County, Brunswick County, all the people that that benefit from Lower Cape Fear Water and Sewer Authority, the last 11 miles that brings water into the Sweeney and some industries on 421. It's critical that we have redundancy in that line. Part of it goes under the river. We just had a leak, or a significant leak in a hard-to-reach area. The construction company got out there quick, got it bypassed, and then repaired it, and it just raised the possibility that if something were to happen in the river or other hard-to-reach places, it could have a huge impact on our water availability in the city, and we just want to get ahead of it. We don't anticipate that, but we need to be proactive on that, and so we're asking for the resolution supporting it. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any other questions, comments? Okay. Mr. Manager?
Mr. Mayor, we have one presentation for you this morning. You'll recall a couple of meetings back, some folks came before you during public comment regarding traffic on Wrightsville Avenue, what would that be, the western end of Wrightsville Avenue. Traffic engineer Dennis Vakenowitz will present this item to you and hopefully be able to quiet your concerns or answer your questions, either one.
Good morning, Mayor and City Council. I'm here in response to, as Tony mentioned, to the public comments from January along Wrightsville Avenue. Let me try and get this into. We took a good look at this area. The study area of concern was from 17th Street to Gibson. It's posted 25 miles an hour. We've measured speeds and volumes in 4 locations over the years. Just to step back a little bit, in 2001, a very large project was put together along this portion of Wrightsville Avenue, and it converted the roadway to a one-way with buffered parking, brick crosswalks, additional sidewalk, and other infrastructure improvements. There are 6 intersections along this one-way section of concern. Immediately following the public comments, we went out and looked at all of the signs and markings and made sure everything was in order and properly placed. This is just a typical example of one of the intersections approaching the one-way. As you can see there, right in front of the driver's face, there's a one-way sign. Under that is a no-turn sign, depending on which way they're arriving, the stop sign, and then the do not enter sign. Where the roadway converts from a two-way section to the one-way section, you'll also see the pavement markings indicating you're not supposed to drive straight. And on either side of the intersection, you'll see dual posted do not enter signs. Also part of that streetscape project from years ago. You'll see the northbound lane, which is what we're looking at. It does not extend through the intersection, so it's offset to encourage further improper wrong-way driving. The MPO collects data along this portion also between 17th and 18th Streets. As you can see, the volumes were increasing up till 2019. Since then, traffic volumes have dramatically, I would say, decreased in that area. Historically, one of our measuring points is site number 1. In 2017, we left a unit out there for over 4 months to get a good average of vehicle volumes and speeds. In 2017, that site experienced about 2,600 vehicles per day. The predominant travel speed was 26 miles per hour, and with less than 1% of traffic traveling above 35 miles per hour. This is just a general chart, kind of a bell curve, if you will, laid on its side, but it shows the predominant speeds being traveled at in 5 mile per hour kind of bends. So we see the most cars out there are being captured in that 21 to 25 mile an hour bend, followed by the 16 to 20 mile an hour bend. And all of the vehicles exceeding 35 miles per hour, you know, if you average it out over that 4 months, was about 12 vehicles a day. So infrequent excessive speeding in the area. Site 2, so following the January comments, we put out 3 more locations because we wanted to measure that entire corridor. We didn't want just a spot treatment. So site 2 was very close to site 1. As we can see, the volumes were dramatically decreased down to about 900 vehicles. The predominant speed was 29 miles per hour, and again, 1% traffic at not exceeding or greater than 35 miles per hour, about 1% of the traffic. So infrequent excessive speeding. Here's kind of that speed distribution chart again, showing similar results with 11 vehicles per day on average exceeding 35. Kind of the same thing going down the road. Site 3, 600 cars a day, 25 mile an hour predominant speed, less than 1% exceeding 35. Same kind of distribution in the trips. And again, site 4, predominant speed 27 miles per hour, less than 1% exceeding 35 miles per hour. We also, after looking at the volumes, we looked at the crashes in the area. I requested a 6-year crash history, which is pretty excessive to do a crash study. In 6 years, there were 13 total crashes reported along this entire stretch. 7 of them were failure to yield at the stop sign. So the remainder of them were not resultant of the traffic control devices out there. There were 4 impaired drivers, an animal in the road, a moped tried to stop too quick and fell over and crashed. At the intersection of Gibson Avenue, this is where the 2-way portion of Wrightsville converts to the 1-way. There were 3 crashes traveling westbound on Gibson Avenue. 1 in 2016, 1 in 17, and 1 in 21. All 3 of them in the narrative of the crash report, the driver stated that they did not see the vehicle coming. The similar situation occurs in the opposite direction at Hudson Drive and Wrightsville Avenue. There was 1 in 19 and 1 in 2020. Both drivers stated that they just did not see the oncoming vehicle. And then at Metz, at the intersection with Metz, there were 2, 1 in 20 and 1 in 22. Both of those also say they just did not see the vehicle.
With those, do you have knowledge of whether they were at nighttime or broad daylight?
I didn't take a look, but
Thank you.
Yep. This video here basically describes when somebody says, I did not see the vehicle, this left-turning vehicle did not stop. So the purpose in stopping is to stop and assess the situation. Is there anybody coming? So for somebody to say they did not see, well, it's kind of hard to blame that on the stop sign when they didn't stop.
See from your picture there, the markings on the left side need to be replaced. And a lot of times people will see that.
Yes. Yep.
Thank you.
So the other crashes, like I mentioned, medical impairment, heavy impairment, animal in the road, medication, loss of consciousness, lost control, impaired driver. There were also concerns of wrong-way driving along this corridor. And it's not meant to be humorous, but staff did watch over 200 hours of video to try and figure out how prevalent is this situation occurring. This is just one example. Another example, which was commented on in the public comments, was due to these non-aligned intersections, we get a lot of well, I don't say a lot, but vehicles will disobey the one-way signing in the area, just to make this simple, so to speak, maneuver. It's at the time, right now, it's unavoidable. We also captured this on video. It doesn't occur frequently, but it does occur. So this vehicle stopped at the stop sign, great, took a look around, and decided that they wanted to make that improper maneuver. As I mentioned, we went out and inspected the signs and the markings. They're all there. Granted, we could refresh them. Maybe they'll pop a little better. Who knows if that's going to change driver behavior, but it's something that coincidentally, when these public comments came out, we were working in this area, looking at replacing the signage just due to age and wear and tear. We'll be glad to take a look at the pavement markings at the same time. So we kind of pushed pause on that.
Looking at that intersection, and I'm very familiar with it, but if somebody who wasn't familiar with it came up there, there's no signage there that says no left turn.
Directly in front of the travel lane, there is a one-way facing south with a no left turn directly
I see it
underneath
now.
it. Yeah.
Couldn't be more obvious, could it?
The no turn sign is actually going over and above the minimum requirement. So the one way is what's required. The no turn sign is what we've decided to add on there to try and help. So in summary, the signage exceeds the requirements. The volumes have technically decreased. We all know what's happened over the past couple of years, which probably has contributed to some of the decrease in volume. Excessive speeding is less than 1% of the total traffic. On average, there's fewer than 2 crashes along the entire corridor per year. Of those, half of them are not really correctable from the traffic control devices. And wrong-way travel was just not observed as being frequently after watching the video that we watched. So just wanted to ask if you had any comments or questions.
Questions for staff?
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, well, wait, since I don't have a question about this particular thing, but Tony, and while we're here, I've had some inquiries about traffic at 10th and Princess Street down from High Wire Brewery, and also South 6th Street, issues with speeding. I think the concern for 10th and Princess Street is like some kind of assistance or blinking light or something, because they state that the traffic gets a little heavy when the brewery is operating. So if we can look into that, please, those two things.
Yeah, we'll take a look at that.
Thank you.
I just have one quick question, and I don't want you to do any research. I just want you to spitball the answer here. Just what's a guess as to how much staff time and you put into this kind of research for this particular concern?
So for each of those sites, it takes about a day probably to put the radars out and the cameras out, put them out, take them out. So there's a day plus the day reviewing 200 hours. We don't watch it, we watch it at 10x speed or something. That goes by pretty quick. But I would say put the presentation together, all that, we're looking at 2 weeks worth of work.
2 weeks' worth of work. Well, I used to live on the other side of that and go from downtown to my house right through there several times a day. And I just think, I basically could have told you this sort of thing. I have never observed that it's a dangerous sort of place, and the city spent a lot of money there over the years trying to make it safe by putting the bulb outs and the parking and making it one way. So, I appreciate your hard work.
Sure.
The city won national awards on that design when it was put in.
Awesome. Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? Okay, thank you, sir. Tony?
Mr. Mayor, we would now ask that you go into closed session. Mr. Joy will be able to guide you with the motion for that.
Okay, and we're going to have closed session in this room. Okay, very good. So I'm going to read for the council a motion to go into closed session, into a closed session pursuant to the provisions of General Statute 143-318, 11, A3, A5, and A6 in order for the city council to, number one, consider the qualifications, competence, fitness, performance, and conditions of employment of public officers or employees. Two, to instruct the staff regarding the city's negotiating position concerning the possible acquisition of real property. And three, consult and provide instruction to the city attorney regarding potential legal claims. So moved. Okay, we have a motion made by Councilmember Waddell, second by Councilmember Barnett. We will have to do a roll call. All in favor of that motion, Mayor Pro Tem, how do you vote?
Aye.
How do you vote, Councilmember Reinbart? How do you vote, Councilmember Barnett?
Aye.
How do you vote, Councilmember Spears?
Aye.
How do you vote, Councilmember Waddell?
Aye.
And the chair is aye. So we are now going to closed session.
Mr. Mayor, if we could just stand down for a second so that we can get the logistics.